Good morning. My name is Kristen Thorne, and I'm the Provider Resource Specialist for the Fairfield County Board of DD. I'd like to welcome all of you to today's provider meeting. I did have a couple announcements before we get started. Tina Smith had asked if I give a reminder to providers when you get an email for the RFPs. Once you click on the Google Doc to fill out that information, she said she's getting a lot of responses for that first line. It says the initials of the person. Please make sure you're putting in the individual's initials and not your own. And their initials can be found in the subject line of the email that you receive. So she's just getting a lot of emails or a lot of responses with the provider's email or the provider's initials, and she can't match it to the person that you're wanting to provide services for. So if you'll make sure you put in the individual's emails, that would be very helpful. And then we have Kim Conrad is not in right now, or she's not here, but she had she had gone to the first session of the last Thursday for the Families of Center of the Connected Community. She said it was very informational. The families actually talked about how they were able to connect and create a community connection in their own neighborhoods. Anyone can join with a Zoom link that I will provide in the chat. So if you're interested in this, I'll put the information in the chat as soon as I'm done, and you can look into that. So today we have two presenters, David Baum and Lois Everett with our ISC department. We'll be going over the OISP information. And then for the second part of our meeting, we will have Jen Walling and Lorelei Banks will be in, and they'll be going over the MUI quarterly information. So I will hand it off to David.
Great. Well, thank you, Kristen, and thank you to the provider and community resource team, and then also to you as providers for inviting us to be here as to present on the Ohio ISP and kind of give just a very kind of high level overview of what it is and kind of what is happening and what it looks like to some degree, talk about the different sections, and then ultimately to kind of what our plan is in terms of rolling this out here in the near future and everything. So again, I'm David Baum, so I'm the Interim Director of Service and Supports, and I have Lois Everett, who is an ISC supervisor that is joining me today and will be presenting with me as well. So she had the wonderful opportunity of being voluntold to assist me with this project. So, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I'm just kind of curious too. So for those that are on this call, can you just do, if you have the reactions at the bottom, can you give me like a thumbs up if you've heard of Ohio ISP or at least know something about it? Or yeah, again, just kind of do that, give me that reaction real quick. I just want to see just kind of where we're at here. Let me see. Got a few. Okay, all right. Awesome, awesome. Okay, those are rolling in. All right, well, good deal. Well, you're in the right spot to learn more about this. So, all right, perfect. All right. Okay. Sorry, I got to try to find where I put, there it is. Okay. All right, is everybody seeing my screen okay? Perfect. Okay. Are you seeing the, you're not seeing the presenter view, are you? You are?
We are, David, yeah. We see all your notes.
all my notes, right? All right, how's that? Perfect. Okay, there we go. So somebody that should know technology is going along with it, right? Okay, so if you're not aware, so Ohio ISP is so it is going to be a similar format that's going to be used across the state. So it is the state planning ISP that will be used for people with and without waivers, people that are living in ICFs or in developmental centers, and those kind of things. So this will be a standardized format in terms of looking at the assessment and then the Ohio ISP itself. And it just provides a standardized way of being able to ask and have conversations with people to really truly understand, who they are, how they best are supported, what are some of those different things that they truly want to accomplish in their life. And again, this is going to be something that is going to be standardized across the state. So, right now, if you're not familiar, which, some of you may be, that, currently here in Fairfield County, we utilize the Imagine system. So our ISP may look a little bit different than what, say, Franklin County and how they develop their ISPs. And then, it may be different too in, going to Knox County or going up to Lucas County. So, each county right now has a different way of how their ISPs are formed. Ohio ISP will be a standardized ISP across the state of Ohio. So if somebody does move, that ISP and that same information will transfer down here to Fairfield County, or it will transfer to the next county where somebody is maybe moving our county into a different county. So this is going to be something that's going to be very unique and very individualized, even though there's still that same kind of format that will be standard for everybody. It's still going to be individualized. And I want to make sure that that's very clear too, that it's still going to be that person-centered planning process is still going to be a part of this. And again, it's going to be about how do we assist that person with supporting the different things in their life, the different choices that they want to have or want to do in their life, and those kind of things. So and right now the projected implementation date is still 9/1/22. So that is when everybody, all county boards across the state of Ohio, all ICFs will start doing, implementing and writing into the Ohio ISP. So we'll kind of discuss a little bit at the end of this presentation, just kind of what we're doing here in Fairfield County and kind of what that will look like as far as how we're moving forward with implementing Ohio ISP as well. But I wanted to share this quick video. Oops, there we go.
David, just make sure you click to share your sound when you.
Yes, thank you. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Share sound. And this is just kind of a general overview of the Ohio ISP.
Envision a planning process that is genuinely driven by the person receiving services and focused on the best possible life for that person. Think about a practice where there is an emphasis on and an expectation for a true team process where all team members feel connected and empowered. Picture a single assessment and plan developed by people from all aspects of the field, people receiving services, family members, waiver providers, ICF providers, county board professionals, DODD personnel, and others. Change brings challenges, but also excitement and new opportunities. The Ohio Individual Service Plan, also called the Ohio ISP, is designed to transform and simplify the planning process, and it is on the way. Though timelines may vary, everyone is encouraged to start discussing the transition and implementation process to the Ohio ISP. Some county boards of developmental disabilities and ICF providers have already started using it. In the end, Ohio ISP Online will be the only system in Ohio that will have all the needed information for service planning, service implementation, and compliance. Free access to this system will be available for all providers, direct support professionals, county boards, people who receive services, families, guardians, and other team members. Several resources for providers and DSPs, including the complete Ohio ISP template, are available now at dodd.ohio.gov/OhioISP, and additional learning opportunities are being developed. Plus, DODD has dedicated regional teams to support providers with the transition to the Ohio ISP or any other technical assistance they may need. Be on the lookout for more resources for providers and DSPs starting in 2022. Stay tuned and subscribe to DODD's social media channels and newsletters for more updates and resources related to the Ohio ISP. Any questions or suggestions can be submitted to ohioisp@dodd.
All right, so that video just kind of gave a short description of exactly what the Ohio ISP is, the different services and supports that will be incorporated in that, and all that good stuff, right? So let's do it again. Well, I apologize here. Let me get this back up. Okay. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So again, kind of why do we have the Ohio ISP? Why did it come out? So again, kind of as we kind of discussed, it's the standardized process in terms of, we have one assessment, one plan. So everybody has the kind of same assessment or at least the standardized, process of what, those questions are, what that plan looks like. And using that kind of same template. Again, it's still going to be person-centered. It's still going to be unique to that person of understanding what that person's kind of support needs are. What is it that they want to accomplish in their life? What is it that, how do they want to, move forward? What are their outcomes? What are, some of those different things that is important to the person? What is meaningful to the person? Looking at, how does that person want to contribute to some of the different organizations or some of the different things, what is contribution, what does that mean to the person? So, looking at all those different things that will still be unique, but still having that standardized template. Again, ISCs, SSAs in other counties, and then Qs that are in ICFs, we're all going to have the same training. So everybody's going to be trained on the Ohio ISP, what this looks like, how to go about, moving forward with this assessment, and then the planning instrument. So, and then IT solutions as well. So as the video kind of mentioned in there, so DODD does have through Salesforce their own kind of version of Ohio ISP that everything will be integrated in. We'll talk at the end of, we're using a third party in terms of a third party vendor, which will be housing our Ohio ISP. So we'll come back to that there at the end. And then again, why simplicity, and then that clarity piece as well. We want to look at that plain language, making sure that we're not using those different jargons and maybe some clinical types of terms, those kind of things, truly making it about the person, making sure that, we're putting it in language that is understandable to anybody. And then, clarity in terms of that we have a clear direction in terms of the, DSPs, understanding what their responsibilities are and what truly are those outcomes and what are the expectations associated with those outcomes. So that way we can continue to move forward and help people progress and grow, towards that independence and towards that outcome that they want for their lives. So this is a key component. And again, this is something that, we continue to do here in Fairfield County, but this is, again, just re-emphasizing this aspect of things here is that, the person just as the video kind of explained to, really it starts with that person, right? It starts with what's important to that person, what's important for that person, what are those support needs and what are those desires and those likes and dislikes, and how do we understand that person? Because truly, what we're doing as ISCs is we're telling that person's story, and we're telling that person's story in terms of how do we best support them? What do they like? How do we best get the most out of that person? And what do we do too that sometimes we don't all have great days, right? So how do we best support that person through some of those different things that come up? And really that begins with the whole team as well. So we're focusing on that person, being person-centered, and then incorporating the whole team and surrounding that person with the team of, again, it could be that parent or guardian. It could be just an advocate for that person, having the ISE surrounding that person as well, having you as providers, whether it's, HPC providers, adult day, non-medical, all these different providers that maybe go around to help support that person, any type of care coordination that is required for that person, because we do know that some of the people that we do serve have some significant kind of behavioral or medical challenges as well that, we need to ensure that we have the right people surrounding that person to help us make those decisions and to help the person make those decisions, more importantly, and to be more informed about what are some of those different decisions that person needs to make. So again, the team process is so critical, but it's going to look different for everybody, right? So it's not going to be necessarily that we're going to have exactly what we have here for maybe a person. Maybe the person, doesn't need necessarily an advocate, or maybe doesn't have a parent or guardian that's involved. And that person is truly, driving and moving forward with their different outcomes and the things that they want to do in their life. We could see that, teams are made up. Some teams are maybe a little bit smaller. Some teams are a little bit larger, just depending upon that person's needs and what that person, wants to do and move forward and what their desires are in their life. The other key aspect of this too is that everybody plays a valuable role. It truly is about, how do we as a team best support that person? And again, helping that person understand too what it is that their responsibilities are. How do they help themselves, to move forward in this process and help to, provide and empower them with the things that they need to do in order to move forward with this. And this is kind of what the Ohio ISP does. And this is what the team aspect should be doing to come around that person. And again, increasing those opportunities and meaningful connections, right? So we know that part of being a part of a community or part of whatever that person's community is, it's important to have those valued roles. So in order for us to best support the person, what does that look like? What does that person want to accomplish through that? How do we help them, determine what that value role is and how can they do it? And again, we want to focus on that advocacy piece, empowering people, but focusing on that person's voice, the choices in their control. Sometimes, I think in our system, we sometimes have this power struggle at times, right? Where it is, this person wants to do this, but on this other side, we're fearful of something happening, right, for this person. Well, how do we help that person through that process, talk it through and, understand what their responsibilities are, making sure that, not only just healthy and safe, but also make an informed choice. And how do we do that? There's many different ways in which we can help that person with doing and becoming more informed about some of those different choices that they are making in their life. So, and again, this team process is a continuous process as well. It is something that is not necessarily, the people on a team or just the people on a team. Doesn't mean that, some people may leave, some people may come aboard and those kind of things. So it's always that continuous process to continue to build for that person. So when we look at the Ohio ISP and kind of the 6 essential elements of that person-centered planning piece and kind of what is essentially in the Ohio ISP, we look at these 6 things. So, this being respectful and empowering. So again, this kind of focuses in on that plain language, description, making sure that we're being respectful on how we're, writing the plan and making sure that it's understandable for just anybody. We're not just filling it with a bunch of jargon, right? It's something that is meaningful to the person and how we best support them. And again, it reflects the positive nature too of the person and how that person, has abilities to do different things. And making sure that that's kind of how we're empowering people to clearly paint to what that picture looks like for that person, what they can do, and maybe what are some things that they may need some supports in. So, and truly, a part of this too reflects a little bit of, if somebody is stating that I want to do this or this, making sure that that person is, we're reflecting that statement in there as well. So the second essential element within this plan to focus on that trauma response approach. So making sure that, again, that we're approaching things as a team, through the lens of that trauma informed, that, understanding that people have had trauma in their life. So focusing on those strengths that have been learned through those experiences that they've identified. And then, identifying those supports in order to feel safe and feel free from fear as well. So, and then that third aspect of makes connections throughout the plan. So making sure that things, what we hear, and making sure too that, things connect from the assessment to the ISP and then into outcomes, right? So we need to see that there's this even flow between, what we've identified in the assessment to what shows up in that important twos and important fours and those risks and anything else that we have identified in there. And then what flows into the outcome, because the outcome needs to come from that basis of what did we find out through that assessment. So making sure that that information is interwoven in there. And then, detailed and thorough as well. So again, kind of going back to that idea of how truly telling that person's story, right? How are we as authors and as a team, giving input that is not only just reflective of what that person's abilities are, but what is meaningful to the person and how do we do that? We're not necessarily, again, ignoring things that may be difficult for the person, but again, how do we best support them through some of those different maybe challenges that they may be working through, and then also how the team kind of works through some of those different things. And then, clear outcomes and experiences. So, making sure that as a team, we're understanding what the person wants to do, what's important to the person, and how we make sure that we help that person along their path to that outcome. And looking at, again, what does progress look like, right? So what's that length of time? How do we know when things are done at that point in time? How do we know when that outcome is accomplished? So experiences, experiences align with the outcome and show a clear path to success as well. So that's another key piece within this plan. So, and then the last one there, just a clear description of services support. So how are we going to support the person to get there, right? So how whether it's through natural supports, whether it's through maybe some community types of supports, whether it's through paid supports, whether it's through our waiver, local dollars, those kind of things. But how do we clearly help that person get to where they want to get to and accomplish their outcomes and everything else. And that, again, this is an ongoing learning process too. It's a continuous process. We're monitoring how these outcomes are being done, the services, are the services working, not working, truly focusing in on that. So, so those are just some of the different elements within the Ohio ISP that, truly focusing on some of these different things within there. So that way we can ensure that these things are being reflective for the person. So right now I'm going to turn this over to Lois, and she's going to go through some different other